Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box, here every Monday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. We are part of the WHPC Sports Talk family, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., and an additional night version on Tuesdays from 10 p.m. to midnight. Of course, we're every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. This show becomes a podcast later on Spreaker.com and nccradio.org, among other places. My name is Rob Leonard, and joining me, of course, is my brother and award-winning sports writer, Tim Leonard. Good morning, brother. How are you?
Good morning, brother. Feeling good.
That's good. You know, this is yesterday was the first time we did not watch the Super Bowl together in literally 30 years.
I was going to say it's got to be decades.
It was the last time I remember, because I was in California, I was watching the Giants beat the Buffalo Bills with a Scott Norville to the right.
Yes, Norwood, brother. Norwood. Not Deborah Norville.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Norwood. And
we're going back all the way back to Coach Parcells.
That's right. Who left right after that, got out of there. But anyway, that's the last time we didn't watch it. Before that, we go back with our friends, going back to when the Bears won in '86. We made homemade pizza. I don't know if you remember, but Mom had that thing that made pizza dough, and we said, "Hey, let's make pizza instead of going and buy pizza." It was good. It was good.
I'll take your word for it. I have no recollection of that whatsoever. Was I there?
Of course you were. It was 1986.
You say so.
Yes, that's where it started. You know, everyone, their party starts somewhere. And this year...
No, wait a minute.
Oh.
I missed one Super Bowl because I was in Wales.
Okay,
I don't remember what year that was, though.
I take that back. You were up in Albany, too.
That's true, too.
So you were in Albany for a while.
Up until 96, mid-96. So we would have seen the 97. So I think I came down for a couple of them while I was up there. But, like I said, I know I was in Wales for at least one Super Bowl where the gathering conflicted with the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
so that would have been, I don't know, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 years ago.
Our friends Bob and Marie, who normally host the party, are in California enjoying the sun.
Yes, warm weather.
They've already picked up the various words for paradise being where they are. Anyway, it was a horrible... I don't want to say it was a horrible game yesterday, brother, but it wasn't a very good game.
It did not live up to the expectations, brother, that's for sure.
Yeah, the whole... You know what got me watching the game during the game? Jim Nantz and Tony Romo saying, "Well, this is what Patrick Mahomes likes. He likes being behind, and this is he's going to cut." They were setting it up, and Mahomes was running. I don't want to say scared, man, but he was running all over the place.
I can tell you for sure, brother. Patrick Mahomes does not like being down by 20 points.
Yeah, well, I don't blame him. No one does because
I can say that with certainty.
It's one thing to be down by 9. It's another thing to be down by 22. Anyway,
9 is nothing. Even when it was 14-6 in the second quarter, I was like, it's not a big deal because it's still basically it's a one possession game. Right. But for me, first let's get into the basics. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat up on the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9.
Beat up is being nice, brother. They destroyed it.
It's tempting to say the New England Patriots beat the Kansas City Chiefs because of so many New England connections, but this was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coached by everybody's favorite coach, Bruce Arians, and Bruce did it his way. And Tom Brady was obviously a very big part of that, but this was a Bruce Arians-led team. And I'm very happy for him because he is one of the really good guys in pro sports. Never mind just the NFL, in all of pro sports.
Right.
But this was a team that we saw as the season went on. They just got better and better. This was a team because of so many new pieces And there were new pieces during the season. If you look at it, I read something last night when I was putting together show notes, and they talked about, well, Brady came to a team that was loaded, and I was like, no, they weren't loaded. Gronkowski wasn't there when Brady signed. Leonard Fournette wasn't there when Brady signed. Antonio Brown wasn't there when Brady. Where was this loaded? Where does that come from? Those are the guys that scored all of the touchdowns yesterday.
Yep.
So where this myth that the Buccaneers were loaded is a bunch of garbage. I mean, were they a good team? Yes, they were. They have a lot of good young pieces, but they needed more talent, and especially on offense. The talk was, oh well, the Bucs had good receivers in place, and yes, Mike Evans is a good receiver, and the Godwin kid is a good receiver, but that wasn't. I mean, they needed more. Any great team needs more. You can't just have a couple of players. So they brought in guys that Brady knows and trusts. Obviously Gronkowski, who we love to refer to on the show as America's Idiot. He came aboard very happily and willingly. Ended his retirement very very soon after it started. Midway or so through the season, Brady, for some reason, likes Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown definitely brings some crazy to the table. But I'll tell you what, Antonio Brown, we didn't hear word one from him this season after the Buccaneers brought him in. And Leonard Fournette, they picked up off of waivers, and all of these guys wanted to come to Tampa because of Brady. Right. And it was a lot of guys saying, and this happens sometimes in the NBA, where guys will be willing to go to, say, the Los Angeles Lakers because LeBron is there. They know they have a chance to win a title, and they'll come there for whatever the veterans minimum is. Well, that's what happened with the Buccaneers. Here's Leonard Fournette saying, all right, yeah, hey, I'll come to Tampa Bay. Here's Gronkowski saying, okay, I'll end my retirement and take maybe not so much money. Here's Antonio Brown, who obviously desperately needs a job in the NFL and wants to try to salvage his reputation and get a job going forward. He's like, yeah, hey, count me in. But all of these guys and others were willing to take maybe a little bit less money to say, all right, we're going in and we're going to try to win a ring. And it's not about long-term deals and trying to build something, but something is there right now. And we have this window of basically 2 years, because that's the contract that Brady signed. Maybe it winds up being 3 if he decides to tack on another year after that. But Tom Brady's 43 years old. It's like somebody in their 90s where you don't buy the green bananas.
Yeah, but
that's where Tom Brady's NFL career is.
But one thing about but he's done a lot of different things in training, brother. The way he's stayed, look at the way he throws. Everything tends to be short passes, so he doesn't get hit as much. He's not in the pocket as much.
Yeah, we've talked about
stuff like that. So
times.
He hasn't. He's not as hurt as some other quarterback who can't walk anymore or doesn't know what town he's in. It could be another 3 years for him, Tim.
Absolutely, I don't disagree with that, and
especially if he keeps winning.
Well, yeah, it's when you have the trust of players, and you have guys who are willing to come help you and do it at a discount rate. That's going to lead to winning football. And Brady showed yesterday, because let's face it, what was yesterday's game? All of the pundits and the hype leading into the game was that this was going to be the passing of the torch. And here's 43-year-old Tom Brady and 25-year-old Patrick Mahomes, and Brady represents the NFL's past and Mahomes represents its future. Well, you know what? Brady took the torch home with him. He wasn't ready to give
someone forgot to tell Tom Brady that he was supposed to pass the torch.
He wasn't ready to give the torch up just yet. He said, yeah, that's mine. I'm bringing it home with the Super Bowl trophy and the MVP trophy. And I'm going to have a good time hanging out with my wife, the supermodel, tonight. I mean, this is, it gets said a lot, but it winds up being true. Tom Brady it seems like he always finds a way to remind people how stupid they are when they try to write him off. And he is a very rare athlete who it's going to be him who decides when his career is over, not the general public, not sports writers, not TV people. He's going to be the one to say, you know what, I'm done. Because until that day happens, or until the day when he finally shows that he can't do it anymore, I mean, let's face it. Did he have a great game yesterday? No. He threw for 201 yards. But did he play an outstanding game? Absolutely. No interceptions, no screw-ups. Everything he did was to lead his team to a victory. And he didn't have to put up gaudy numbers to do it, but that's what he did. The Buccaneers won. They won comfortably. And before I get into too much Brady, because I will point out this is the first time that Tom Brady has won a Super Bowl where it didn't bother me, where I was actually happy for the guy.
Well, I was going to bring that up. That's a topic. I think one thing that Tom Brady proved he doesn't need Bill Belichick to push him along to make him the champion, so to speak. Look what happened this year to the Patriots. They didn't make the playoffs. Belichick, wasn't the genius he always everyone thought he was to be this year. And here's Tom Brady. He goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a weird beginning of the season. They didn't really have a training camp, and they end up being the champions.
But that's why, and I'll just cut you off for 1 second, brother. That was what I was talking about before in terms of, this was a team with so many new pieces to it, and especially at quarterback, right. Where training camp would have been hugely beneficial to them. So as the season was going, I mean, remember, this is a team that the Chiefs just crushed in Week 12.
Right.
Tyreek Hill had 269 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 12. Tyreek Hill did nothing yesterday.
No, the front 4 defensive guys for Tampa Bay were just.
No, it was more. It was the front 7. I mean,
they were just all over the place with Mahomes. Mahomes was running like Fran Tarkenton,
And let's give the credit where it's due there, brother, because he didn't get a lot of credit when he was here. That was not only the Tampa Bay defense. That was the Todd Bowles Tampa Bay defense.
I wrote that to our friend Rob Tuck.
Todd Bowles did a really nice job yesterday. And
he did.
As far as I'm concerned, for the job that he did this year, and that's both him and he's the defensive coordinator, and Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. As far as I'm concerned, both of those guys have put themselves in very much in conversations for whatever head coaching jobs are still available, because they both deserve to be head coaches in the league. And I know that the haters out there will say, well, Todd Bowles already had his chance with the Jets. Yeah, let's give Todd Bowles a chance with a real franchise. And let's give him a chance with a franchise that actually has a clue about what they're doing, not the Jets.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to believe it was the same guy, coaching. It's like because the defense of Tampa Bay was just. It was so well. It seemed thought out, almost perfect.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
You don't normally get that type of, okay, we're going to have our guy exactly where he is when he's going to throw it. And, how many times was, Mahomes literally being grabbed and then throwing it? I mean, literally, and then he throws it, and you think it's going to be like intentional rounding, but it actually
Mahomes is
was
good
pretty
at
close. It just didn't happen.
Mahomes is good at unloading the ball while a defensive player is all over. He's good at that. But still, and I will point out, just so we're being totally transparent here, the Chiefs were missing 2 starters on their offensive line, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. So that obviously had an impact. But Todd Bowles came up with a very good game plan, and that game plan was to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes and make him have to run and make him have to make quick decisions. But at the same time, the Buccaneers were also able to contain enough where Mahomes wasn't going to beat them with his feet. So Mahomes, he wasn't really able to scramble so much. I mean, the Buccaneers filled up lanes. They stayed in those lanes. It wasn't a jailbreak defense. It was contained and relentless pressure. So Mahomes didn't really have anywhere to go. That's why, I mean, it was 3 sacks, and Mahomes also threw 2 interceptions, both of which were deflected balls. But
right.
you know, the interceptions still go on his his numbers. But the 3 sacks was the biggest surprise, because this is a guy who throughout his career has proven to be very elusive, very slippery. He's again, with the flick of a wrist, he can throw the ball 50 yards. So you can't just chase him. You have to try to contain what he's doing. And I thought the Buccaneers did a phenomenal job of that yesterday. And then again, all the credit for that, has to go to Todd Bowles. It was a fantastic strategy, a fantastic game plan.
And think of the Chiefs; they didn't even score a touchdown. I mean, no touchdown, three field goals. That's not what you want. Yeah?
We said a couple weeks ago, when the Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills, that you can't beat the Chiefs with field goals, because that's what Buffalo was kicking field goals. Well, you know what? You can't beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with field goals either. And you're not going to win a Super Bowl with field goals, especially when you only get 3 of them. But
yeah,
that was one of the stunning parts of the game, that the Kansas City Chiefs did not score a single touchdown. Because this is a team that, for the last couple of years, has basically made a living just obliterating opposing teams with their offense and putting such a destructive offense on the field, where they can put points up so quickly, and just the defense might be having a decent game, and then all of a sudden, bang, 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 here's 21 points on 3 touchdowns. And there was none of that yesterday. None of it was happening. None of it was coming close to happening. Mahomes really didn't hit. He had a couple of decent length passes, but he wasn't. He just looked off. His like you said, the pressure was there. They were kind of chasing him around a little bit and forcing him to do some things that he doesn't normally do. But he just also looked out of rhythm. And he didn't look comfortable. It was always like he was always looking to see where the pressure was going to come from next. And when you can make a quarterback uncomfortable like that, his throws on the run weren't accurate. He wasn't able to really set his feet very often to really get some big yardage on a pass. And when a quarterback feels that way, he's not going to be an effective quarterback. And that was the key. Again, that was the key to the game.
Yeah, there was a lot of things with Mahomes and the Chiefs. Just everything was off rhythm. I thought Mahomes looked like he was leaning to one side at one point. They didn't say anything about that he was hurt, but it just seemed like he was trying to avoid something. He was running and stuff like that. So
that could go back. I mean, he did have the turf toe that they talked about in the AFC Championship game. And that's an injury that lingers. And let's face it, did he have 2 weeks to rest? Sure he did, but turf toe doesn't necessarily go away in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's more than, I'm sure that, and I'm sure he would never talk about it and use that as any kind of reason or an excuse, because look, he played well against Buffalo. So, but if it did limit his mobility even a little bit, then it was a factor. But, again, it's something he's played with for more than a month now.
Right.
So from that standpoint, I doubt it was any kind of a factor. But yeah, I'm sure he felt it during the game.
Yeah, a couple of things about the game. We should say that Brady was named MVP for the Super Bowl for the 5th time. His 10th appearance in the Super Bowl, seventh time he's won. He already said that he's coming back next year. And one thing I got to give Brady credit, they kept asking, how do you feel? How do you feel? And he kept saying, he always brought up the team. He brought up, this is great for the coach. This is, he mentioned other players. He wouldn't go into himself. And they kept asking the same question.
But he's won it so many times. He should give credit to everybody else.
Yeah, I know.
And let's face it. Like I said, a lot of guys took less money than they could have made to come play with him and go for the ring. So
sure, I would do it.
For him not to give other players credit would really make him a jerk. But he answered the questions the right way. And when Jim Nantz asked him about to start comparing this to the Patriots, and he wouldn't take the bait, and that was smart of him to not take the bait. He goes, I don't want to compare them. There's different situations, and I'm
right.
just happy and proud of these guys because they're great players. Perfect answer. You don't want to get into any of that.
No, especially up on a stage. He doesn't want to say, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the greatest team I ever played for. No, you would never say that. I mean,
right.
It's kind of fun if he did, but he's not that way.
Brady's too smart for that. I mean, Brady is it's like the old Michael Jordan quote, brother. Republicans buy shoes too. He doesn't want to get Patriots fans mad at him after 20 years. I mean, right. there's a certain segment of Patriots fans that are mad at him for leaving, if you can believe that, after 20 years and all the Super Bowls that he won for that town. But that's you don't want to get into that. And we're going to get into something. We're going to get into something with fan bases a little later on with Trevor Bauer, but I don't want to get into that now.
Yeah.
But that's when you go, especially when you go from one team to another, you don't want to anger the previous fan base, which already probably has a little bit of resentment and probably a little bit of envy as far as, well, hey, Tom Brady just left us and our team is now in a shambles and it's not getting better anytime soon. But here's Tom Brady, who lands on his feet and goes and wins another ring.
Yeah,
and probably has a pretty decent shot to win another one next year. I'm not going to say that the Bucs are going to repeat, because it's really hard to repeat in the NFL.
Right.
But they certainly do have a hell of a lot better chance to win a Super Bowl next year than the New England Patriots will.
Definitely, and who might be joining him next year is Edelstein.
Edelman. Edelman is a positive. He loves Tom Brady.
I know, and Brady loves him.
He would do, and he would wash Tom Brady's car if Brady asked him to. But I don't know if Edelman is going to retire or if he's going to try to play another year, because he's had health issues. He's had some, I think concussion issues and also body issues. So I don't know if he's going to be physically able or willing to make that kind of commitment. I know he wants to.
Right,
but will he physically be able to is the much bigger question here. So, but
he doesn't have to be the starter. He can be the backup guy.
But when you're dealing with concussions, brother, you don't want to mess with that. Well, that's, you could play 3 plays in a game and wind up with a concussion. It's not it's not a matter of how many snaps or how many catches or anything like that. It's if you've had several concussions already, you don't want to risk another one.
Right, so, that's understandable. But I can see him signing, taking a cut and pay, maybe.
Yeah, for 1 year.
His last season,
He's like, Tommy, let's go win another one.
Yeah, and then, of course, you got to say something about Gronk, brother. I mean, America's Idiot had 2 touchdowns. I told my man Buscema, because Buscema was in one of these pools where you make all of these prop bets. And he said to me on Friday, he said, Leonard, who's going to score the first touchdown? And I said to him, Buscema, you got to go Gronk. I said, you got to go America's Idiot. I said, Brady, he's like Brady's security blanket. Yep.
He's going to go to Gronk. And then, of course, who gets the first touchdown? It goes to Gronk.
Of course.
I told Buscema, I said, you don't question my predictions. They come true very often. Wow. I've said them on this show publicly. Of course, I also had the Chiefs in the over yesterday, so it was a really bad day prediction-wise. But Gronk, I was 100% on. I tell you what, he had a good game. I'm not gonna sit here and rip Gronk for any reason. For yesterday, played outstanding, made the catches, scored touchdowns, did everything you would want and hope and expect for a tight end to do. And I don't know what's next. I don't know. I can't imagine he's going to retire again, because
no. He's too young.
Yeah, but but he was too young to retire before too. Physically, he had a pretty good season. So that was the issue when he retired. 2 years ago, was that his body was banged up. He didn't want to go through the grind again. That's what it is for a lot of football players. They just don't want to do it anymore because their bodies are beat up. but he didn't get. It wasn't that bad this year, so I certainly can see him coming back for at least one more year, or ride this thing out with Brady and see how long he'll go. But I think a lot of this Tampa Bay team should be back next year, and whatever else they can fill in with the draft and anything else. Maybe, like I said, find some inexpensive free agents, and if Fournette decides to leave, if Antonio Brown decides he wants to leave, these guys can be replaced with other, could Edelman replace Antonio Brown? Sure, he could. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's certainly a possibility.
It'll be a nice trade-off. Anyway, brother, a couple of things also about yesterday's game. The commercials. Not as many as I wanted to see that were new and exciting and only for the game, because that's part of it. You want the commercial that's for the game. Well, first of all, there was one with Bruce Springsteen.
That was phenomenal. That was a great commercial.
He might win a Clio for that.
I think
or being in it. It was a 2-minute bit about America and the church that was supposedly in the exact middle of the country, which is this little room. It's a very strange place. No one ever heard about it. Well, at least I haven't. And plus, Bruce does drive a Jeep, so that's. But he doesn't say Jeep. It was just him reading this thing. And if you know anything about the history of Tom Zimmy, who's worked with Bruce on many things, Tom shot it and directed it, and it was just really a nice touch. Wayne's World returns, doing an Uber spot, but you know what? It was funny. It was funny. Let's see, who else? Geico had Boomer and Phil Simms. I didn't know these guys hated each other so much. You tell me stories, but
let's not get crazy with the hate, brother.
Well, they just
word. They don't like each other.
Why
There's nothing wrong with not liking somebody. They were rival quarterbacks in the same city for a lot of years.
Boomer how long was Boomer a Jet? Come on,
several years.
I don't think of him as a Jet quarterback. I think of him as a Bengals quarterback.
Well, Maryland is not in the NFL, brother.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, anyway, Boomer was with a Jet. He was a Jet for I can look and see how many seasons, but he was the Jets quarterback for several seasons. 93 to 95. So that's 3 seasons.
Okay, 3 seasons. I like the Lays one, of course. Eli and Peyton. That's like you and me, brother.
There we go. And, I missed that one. I missed a lot of commercials.
That was a good commercial too, because it wasn't just Eli and Peyton playing catch in their pajamas and having Archie come down and yell at them. It was silly. And then, but it continued with Terry Bradshaw and Jerome Bettis.
Did Terry have pants on? I miss all these commercials.
I don't know. He ends up falling on a table of Lay's and Cheetos and stuff. And who's the other one?
Terry Bradshaw is like America's Idiot too.
He's the original American Idiot, brother.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's the original one. Gronk comes in and said, "Hey, you going to keep this role? I'm ready." So, and then what was the other one? There was something to do with I can't read my notes. Flying. What did I write? Flying. Oh, there was something to do with flying lemons, which was I thought a fun commercial. Except I don't remember the product.
Was that the one about when life throws you lemons, make lemonade? It was some kind of.
That's the new thing with beer seltzer, brother. Have you had any of that?
One of those. Yeah, I don't know.
Because it doesn't taste like beer; it tastes like seltzer, but it gives you it tastes very good actually.
Gives you a little bit of a buzz.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's like drinking some of the lemon beers that are out there, Yeah. But anyway, I like the flying lemons, and the rest of them I don't remember very well. But those are the ones I do remember. Like I said, the Bruce one was really good, and they should do it more. These commercials should be more set for the game only, and they're not. They used to be. The Bud. Yeah, but
this is it's a different year, brother. I'm sure when once we get past the pandemic,
you're right, brother. A lot of the commercials were about coming together, being together.
Right.
Remember, we're all in the same team type of thing. A lot of commercials had that type of thing, and even like Bruce's thing for Jeep. was a similar type of thing.
Right, so, but also a lot of big sponsors didn't participate this year.
Right, Coke and Pepsi weren't given spots, though the Pepsi halftime show with The Weeknd, which I didn't even watch.
I was a little disappointed by that.
And then, of course, Miley Cyrus.
Although there are people on Twitter, saying that if you didn't like the Super Bowl halftime show, you're officially old. And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, no.
I would rather have good taste in music and be old.
Well, they are partly right, brother. I mean, but they've had all the other great artists on there, so who else are they going to have? So anyway, that was
The Weeknd is not a great artist, brother. I'm sorry.
No, he's not a great artist, but he is popular. So I would have had Miley Cyrus as the halftime, but she was on the tailgate show, so there was a different payment there, I'm sure. But she was on there, and then Alicia Keys was on some other show, and it might have been the same show. I don't know. I didn't see it all, to be honest with you. I was like, when I went into the kitchen, I can't see my TV in the kitchen. So anyway, so it was, I thought a poor game, but we all watch it like we always do. It's one of the few things in America that people watch live and, have a comment on it the next day, because we live in a world where everything's streamed and people watch things at different times, and the water cooler moments are different now. Anyway, just as a reminder, you're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. This is From the Press Box, here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The show becomes a podcast later on nccradio.org, among other places, Spreaker.com, among other places. I think our iHeartRadio also has it, among other places. We're in a lot of places. So, just a reminder of that. If you miss it or you want to hear Timmy's great predictions again. Anyway, brother, you hinted at this before, but it's now time to bring it up. The Mets, I think, actually did the right thing, or lucky that they didn't get Bauer. You know what?
No. So bad take, brother. Really bad take.
No, because I think money wise, he's getting like $45 million, man.
Well,
I'm sorry, no one's worth. That's a lot of money.
Hang on. Slow down, bro. Slow down. Let's give people the facts first, because there might be some people out there who don't know what happened. But Trevor Bauer, who was a lot of people regarded as the best player, the best free agent in the market this winter in baseball, kind of let it slip that he was going to sign with the Mets. And then, not long after all of that, announced that he had reached an agreement with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So it was a bit of a social media / public relations boondoggle, for which he later apologized. But there was a lot of just silliness that has been going on this winter with him that I have a lot of problems with. But
so you see, you have problems with him too. So why sign him?
No, well, why sign him is because he's a really good pitcher, and the Mets could use another really good pitcher. And when he goes to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who the Mets are already chasing to try to be the best team in the National League, well, right. Now the Mets, in theory, just got worse, and the Dodgers just got a lot better. The Dodgers' rotation for this season is going to be ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. With Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, Walker Buehler, David Price, and I think Julio Urias or Dustin May. And the only issue that I have with signing Bauer is it really does push Dustin May out of your rotation. This kid is as far as I'm concerned, is a future star. He's got everything you want in a pitcher, but now I don't know what the Dodgers are going to do with him. And they also have another guy, Tony Gonsolin, who did a nice job in 2020 when, he's another guy who's just on the verge of being a major leaguer. This was, as far as I'm concerned, from the Dodgers, this was overkill. It was something they didn't need to do. They soared over the luxury tax threshold. But the Mets actually offered Bauer more money. But here's the thing. The breakdown goes like this. Bauer signed 3 years for $102 million. All right.
That's a lot.
But hang on, bro. $40 million in 2021, $45 million in 2022, and then $17 million in 2023. Now he's got an opt-out after year 1 and year 2, which means we're never getting to year 3 for the $17 million. The only reason the year 3 is even there is if he needs Tommy John surgery, and he'll miss the entire season. That's the only way that $17 million ever gets paid. So he'll make more money if he gets hurt, because he's going to take the 40, he's going to take the 45, and then after 2022, he's going to say, all right, I'm opting out after taking $85 million for 2 years. Now, the Mets, I assume, I don't know this because I haven't seen it anywhere, but I know the Mets offered $105 million over 3 years, which is an average of $35 million per season, which I assume is how they intended to pay it. But what happens if the issue becomes this: if you give Trevor Bauer $35 million a year to pitch for your club, how do you justify paying Jacob deGrom what you're paying?
You can't.
For a contract he only signed 2 years ago.
You'd have to re-sign him.
Well, and not only that, but the Mets deferred like 40% of that contract.
Right.
So,
different owner too at the time too.
Well, yeah, that's a big part of it. But you would have to. I don't even know how you would make that up to Jacob deGrom. You'd have to tear up the contract.
You know what that reminds me of, brother?
What's that, brother?
When Reggie came in and Munson was told he was always going to be the highest paid Yankee, and that little, while before, Thurman got a good deal also. So it reminds me of that a little bit in the sense that, but that was a contract. That was in his contract. He would always be the highest paid Yankee. Brother, move your head straight into the microphone. You're a little. I think you're a little. We're getting a little weirdness in the vocal. Okay, that's good. There you go.
Well, but that was in Munson's contract that he would be the highest paid Yankee. And I've said to my Tottenham friends, there's no way that Harry Kane should ever not be the highest paid Tottenham player, no matter who they get, and that includes Gareth Bale. But there are certain players who have earned that right. And for me and the Mets, Jacob deGrom is that person. He's clearly their best player,
right?
And their most important player. Without Jacob deGrom, the Mets aren't winning anything. He's a guy. He takes the ball every fifth day. He almost never gets hurt. He's there every time he's supposed to be pitching. He's there, except for that back injury that he had. What was it, last year or the year before?
Right.
But, what did he miss? 1 start, 2 starts? I mean, this is a guy who he's been durable. He's been outstanding. He's got 2 Cy Young awards, and he was third last year. I mean, he's clearly, if he's not the best pitcher in the game, then he's one of the top 3.
Well, brother, also reminds me of the second one is when A-Rod comes to the Yankees, and he's making many more $1 million than Derek Jeter, who obviously, is Mr. Yankee, So, and Derek, I give him credit. Unless if you remember differently, I don't think he ever renegotiated his contract.
Well, Derek Jeter, first of all, had a ridiculously good contract as it was. Jeter's contract was, if I remember correctly, 10 years for $189 million. So it was $18.9 million a year, which at that point for a shortstop was unheard of. But Derek Jeter also, he wasn't necessarily ego driven. You'd have to be an idiot to say that A-Rod wasn't a better player than Jeter. He was. So he was
really. I never thought that, brother.
Unquestionably, A-Rod was winning MVP awards. He was hitting 50 bombs a year. He was batting 300. I mean, Alex Rodriguez. But I was about to say Alex Rodriguez, assuming no drug issues, it would be one of the greatest players ever to play the game. Now, how much of that was steroids and how much of it was natural talent? You have to remember, this kid was so good that the Mariners made him the #1 overall pick in the draft. So, this was a kid who he was destined for stardom, and everybody knew it. So that's what puzzles me as far as why a guy like that or why a guy like Barry Bonds would even take steroids. They didn't need it, but they wanted to be that much better. I mean, they were already, both of those guys already were all-time greats. They got greedy. But that, Jeter, there's no way that Jeter would ever be able to justify that if he said, well, I'm better than him, I should be making more money than him. It'd be crazy. Was he Mr. Yankee? Yes, he was the face of the franchise, undoubtedly. But Derek Jeter knows enough about baseball where if he said, I want more money than A-Rod and I'm worth it, the people would look at him and say, what are you, nuts? How many MVP awards have you won? How many times have you hit 40 or 50 home runs? How many times have you driven in 140 or 140 runs? I mean, it wouldn't have made sense. Derek Jeter was very important to the New York Yankees. Absolutely.
He was the leader that brought them four World Series rings.
And he was very well compensated for it.
Right.
Put it this way. He was so well compensated for it that he was able to buy a piece of a team.
Yeah, but he owns like 4% of some Marlins.
Whatever percentage he owns. He spent $35 million of his own money to buy it.
Yeah, it's chump change to him.
Well, come on. I mean, it's ridiculous. But that becomes, it's still, even though the Mets didn't sign Trevor Bauer, that is still going to be an issue for the Mets going forward. And it was an issue even going back to last year when the Yankees signed Garrett Cole to the contract that they signed him to. Granted, it's a lot more money, but it's also a lot more years. But the Mets need to figure out a way to reward Jacob deGrom and put him on par with the other pitchers of his caliber. Because to not do that, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing: deGrom clearly signed a team-friendly deal. But,
yes, he did.
And how much? I don't know if he's happy with the money, and I don't know if he's the kind of guy who's like, well, I want to make every last nickel I can at this game, or if he's going to say, hey, you know what? I'm making $130 million off of this contract. It's not like another $20 million is going to change my life. So it depends on his mindset with all of this. But players, they talk about all of this nonsense about respect, but. Let's face it. The other thing that regular quote unquote working folk don't realize is Jacob deGrom's not taking home $28 million a year. The government's taking half of that.
Well, that's why maybe another $20 million would help.
Right. Well, that's why I'm saying anytime you hear about these contracts, don't forget these guys pay taxes too. And they also have, it's we're talking payroll tax. They're not making their money off of stock options that they can manipulate and the bonus money that doesn't get taxed. This is all payroll. So I mean, I would love to see one of these checks and see what it says, like FICA and all the various deductions that get taken out of your check. I would love to see a major leaguer's paycheck, just to see what that looks like.
Well, the Social Security and Medicare is limited. It's based on $118,000 total. Wow. So once you make over that, your percentage, it gets lower and lower because people like us who don't make $118,000, the percentage is higher. So that's just part of that's something different.
But now we're dealing with in the National League with Trevor Bauer going to the Dodgers. You're talking about the Dodgers are once again the team to beat because the Padres had maybe taken that away from them. Even though the Dodgers are the defending World Series champions, the Padres have had a fantastic offseason. They've made big trades to improve their pitching. They've improved their team significantly, and their young players will be another year older and better. And by that I mean specifically Fernando Tatis Jr., who I think is going to be phenomenal next year, even that much better than what he was last year and the year before. But and when we talked about this a few weeks ago, I think it was 3 weeks ago, where you look at the National League, Dodgers, Padres, Braves, 3 locks for the playoffs. Mets, more than likely a wild card, and then whoever wins the Central, which at this point it looks like Colorado, because after the Nolan Arenado trade, that gives them a big presence in the middle of their lineup that they were lacking. So assuming that we don't have expanded playoffs, and I'm going to assume that because the players are desperately against it, that's the 5 teams. What other team is making the playoffs from the National League? Maybe the Cubs, maybe the Brewers. I think the Central should still be, a decent dogfight. But, do the Nationals and the Phillies have enough to overtake the Mets and the Braves in the East? I don't know. I think health is going to play a big issue, and I think health in Major League Baseball this year is going to be it's going to be a crapshoot, because especially with the pitchers, because there were so few innings played last year, and there were very few pitchers that even exceeded 100 innings.
Right.
When you go with big jumps in innings from pitchers for one season to the other, if you go from 80 innings one year to 180 the next, chances are you're going to have a lot of arm injuries this year.
That's a good point.
That's I think probably one of the reasons why the Dodgers said we need to get Trevor Bauer, because we're going to need to use 6 or 7 or 8 starters this year, because that's the kind of season it's going to be. And I don't think any teams are really going to want to put 200 innings on any starter's arm.
Well, they also need the pitching. They also need they have the money to spend. And their TV contract. It's still a weird contract. It's they started their own channel, and they need programming, and winning Dodger games is the way you get winning programming.
Yeah, it's good to see one team that doesn't care about the luxury tax. So,
the Yankees used to be one of those teams.
Well, yeah, they used to be. I recall those days with fond memories, brother. Back before there even was a luxury tax.
Yes,
one thing I do want to say about Bauer, because this was the thing that just aggravated me, is that he put out an apology to Mets fans because of this social media snafu, and that annoyed me, because his quote was, this is a quote, "My intention this entire offseason was to engage with fans in ways that made the offseason and free agent process more interesting." But he didn't do that at all.
Some corporate claptrap there.
He came off looking like a jerk. His agent, Rachel Luba, also came off looking like an amateur. All they did, first of all, there was nothing interesting about any of it, because it was just painfully slow, like free agency is in baseball every winter. But all they did on social media was mock and insult sports writers via Twitter. There was nothing interesting about it. It was all, this guy said this, but he didn't get it from me, so where is he getting this from? Who cares? Why is this process taking 4 months? It doesn't need to. Call some teams, see who's interested. Let's get the money on the table and make it happen. But it shouldn't have to last into February. There's no reason for that. So that's my big issue with Bauer. And then of course he blamed other people for his social media feeds and this whole thing being Bauer wanted to put out a YouTube video to announce his choice. But apparently some link was put out there to his website before the YouTube video, and it showed the link was there to buy Mets merchandise with Bauer's name on it. So, of course, the assumption was as soon as people saw that, Bauer signing with the Mets, because here's Mets Bauer merchandise on it. It's is it like the best reporting? No, probably not. But if you see Bauer Mets merchandise, it's not a reach in any way whatsoever to say, hey, Trevor Bauer is signing with the Mets. Let's put that on Twitter. Let's put it on Facebook. Let's get that out there. Well, What happens a few hours later, here's the YouTube video and Trevor Bauer saying, yeah, I'm coming home to the Dodgers. Well, hey, dude, what about all this other stuff? And you've been flirting with Mets fans all winter. You've been flirting with Angels fans all winter. Hey, wouldn't that be a great place to play? He put out a YouTube video after Steve Cohen bought the Mets and said, wow, that's an intriguing guy. Sure would like to play for him. He did all of this nonsense in the off season to try to just bring attention to himself and cozy up to a bunch of fan bases. I have no idea how he didn't think that this would come back to bite him in the butt. It's the worst. The worst managing of a situation like this since LeBron made the decision.
Oh God, yeah.
That's how bad it was.
Well, no one's done it since. So
anyway,
maybe you have a press conference like you're supposed to. Anyway, quickly, brother, you want to talk about Tottenham?
Well, I want to talk about the Knicks first before we get into soccer.
Okay, the
Knicks made a trade, and at first, when I heard the rumors that the Knicks were looking to get Derrick Rose again, my first reaction was, oh, God, no. Because anybody who doesn't, who has a memory of longer than a couple of hours remembers when Derrick Rose was with the Knicks, and his most famous episode with the Knicks was when he left the team and could not be found.
Yes, he disappeared.
Yes. So my thinking was, why do the Knicks want this guy back? Well, the reason they want him back is because he loves Tom Thibodeau and Tom Thibodeau loves him. And so Tibbs has been working, I don't even want to say behind the scenes because Tibbs is the scene. But he has been talking to Knicks management and saying, look, I want this guy on my team. What do we have to do to get him? And they made it happen. And even though I didn't want Derrick Rose back, what they gave up to him was almost addition by subtraction. Because They got rid of Dennis Smith Jr., who was the guy who they got back from Dallas in the Porzingis trade, who hasn't been playing at all. He's been playing so little, which is to say not at all, that he volunteered to go to the Knicks G League team just so he could get some minutes. All right, this is a guy who not so long ago was the 9th pick overall in the draft. And the Knicks wanted to get rid of him. They don't like him as a player. He doesn't play any defense. He just wants to try. He's basically Carmelo Anthony, but not nearly as good. So fine. Now he's gone. They have Derrick Rose on a 1-year deal for $7.7 million. It doesn't affect the Knicks cap really in any way because they're about $20 million below the cap, and they also had to give up a second round pick. So you know what? You got a decent point guard. My only problem with this trade is what happens. How does this impact Emmanuel Quickley's minutes? Yeah. Because Quickley has, no pun intended, quickly become a fan favorite in the Garden. He was the Knicks' second first round pick this year behind Obi Toppin, and this kid has had a phenomenal impact. He for me, he's the point guard of the future. So I'm hoping that Derrick Rose is willing to teach this kid a few things.
If Derrick Rose likes Tibbs, you know what? That's saying a lot for Derrick Rose because Derrick Rose doesn't seem to like many people. So,
I don't know about that. But
you know what I mean. But if he's willing to play, and maybe he plays differently. Maybe Tibbs can say, "Hey, Derrick, do this. Okay, coach." Instead of fighting him, it's probably a good thing. Well, so
the fact that they get along is a good thing because Derrick Rose for me, he's not going to start and play 35 minutes. First of all, there's no way he should, and secondly, I assume that he would be willing with Thibodeau to take something of a reduced role. And hopefully, like I said, that includes part of his job being his mentor. But the other thing you have to think about with the Knicks, they right now are a playoff contending team. They're the sixth place in the East, which I mean, like I said before the season started, I said their over under for wins was 25 or something like that, and I said bet the over, but I said go with the over, but it wasn't going to be over by much. But right now they're looking like a 500 team. And 500 gets you into the playoffs.
Very quietly, they've improved without doing much.
They've had some streaks. They lost 5 and they won. Yep. They won 5. So it's kind of going back and forth. The consistency is needed still, but it's becoming an intriguing team. And then I gotta give a lot of credit for that to Tibbs.
Let's quickly talk about Tottenham, brother.
Tottenham. Tottenham won this week, so that's a good thing. They're
not the same team they should be, brother, right?
Well, they defeated West Brom 2-0. Harry Kane made his return after suffering injuries to both ankles against those hacks at Liverpool.
Hey.
Clearly were trying to injure him. How does somebody injure ligaments in both ankles unless somebody's going after you? I mean, let's face facts. That's ridiculous. But Harry Kane got a goal. Heung-min Son got a goal. It was just like old times. And by old times, I mean earlier this season. So 2-0. Manchester City, has taken control of the title race, brother. And they did that with a 4-1 thumping of your Liverpool, which is now in fourth place, 10 points behind Manchester City. Manchester City's pulling away at this point. They keep winning games. They've won in all competitions. They've won 13 games in a row. And as far as just Premier League games, I think they have eight or nine wins in a row, which if you win 8 or 9 Premier League games in a row, you are going to zoom up the table. And that's what they're doing right now. They're the only team that isn't losing to the bottom feeders and to the supposed teams they should be. Tottenham lost to Brighton a week and a half ago, and then Liverpool lost to Brighton. Brighton is in like 16th or 17th place. They beat Tottenham and Liverpool back to back, both 1-0. So that's what's happening now. Manchester City's in first. Manchester United is in second. Leicester City is in third. And like I said, Liverpool is in fourth. So next up for England is the FA Cup, brother. That's the middle of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday. One of the most dangerous games is Tottenham versus Everton. And then we also have Manchester United against West Ham. But we'll have a quarterfinal set up by Wednesday.
That's cool. Anyway, we got less than a minute. NHL and COVID, they're not getting the message. A lot of people. We had the Islanders blow off 2 games with the Sabres last week. It seems that COVID and the NHL are going hand in hand. So
the Devils have 17 players on the COVID list right now, brother.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
If I'm the NHL, I go and get my. I call up Pfizer and say, give us what you got. We want to vaccinate every person on our teams. That's what you do.
Well, you're going to have to do something because it really
cut a deal,
gotten out of hand.
Make a donation. Anyway, you've been listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, has been my brother and co-host and, of course, award-winning sports writer Tim Leonard from the Press Box every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join Sports Talk every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., and every Tuesday, 10 p.m. to midnight. Coming up next, Big Ed with the Good Gold Show. Take care and bye-bye.